The two quiet bets that built Microsoft, from Albuquerque to AI. By the end of this story, you'll know the one contract clause from 1980 and the one culture shift from 2014 that quietly turned Microsoft from a scrappy basic shop into a trillion-dollar cloud and AI powerhouse. Keep those in the back of your mind as we rewind to a tiny office in the New Mexico desert where the world's most important software company was still spelled with a hyphen. Altair Knights, open letters, and a name with a hyphen. In January 1975, a magazine cover changed two friends' lives. Paul Allen spots the Altair 8800, calls Bill Gates at Harvard, and in 8 weeks they produce a basic interpreter without owning the computer it's supposed to run on. It works on first demo. That summer, in a letter to Allen, Gates writes, Microsoft, hyphen and all. Soon they're in Albuquerque, licensing Altair Basic, hiring friends, and this matters, arguing that software itself is a product. Gates's open letter to hobbyists lands like a thunderclap in a culture that thought code should be free. My read, that letter wasn't just a rant, it was the first brick in the wall that turned intellectual output into an industry. They move home to the Seattle area, drop the hyphen, and keep shipping BASIC to anyone making a microcomputer. There's no grand master plan yet, just a working theory. If everyone builds hardware, the company that sells the language those machines speak becomes the common thread. IBM knocks, DOS answers. Then opportunity shows up in a blue suit. IBM wants an operating system for its first PC. Microsoft doesn't have one. Yet. They broker a path to a quick and dirty DOS, clean it up, ship it as MS-DOS, and make a subtle, world-changing decision. Keep the rights to license it to other manufacturers. That's the quiet clause I teased. Instead of a one-and-done sale to IBM, Microsoft becomes the toll booth for an entire clone ecosystem. Every new PC that wants to be IBM compatible ends up speaking Microsoft's language. If the 1970s were about convincing people that software is worth paying for, the 1980s are about proving that distributing the same software everywhere prints money. Windows learns to walk, then run. OS made Microsoft inevitable. Windows made it inescapable. The first releases are awkward, but they teach users the muscle memory of icons, menus, and a mouse. Windows 3.0 brings speed and polish. Windows 95 adds the start button and a cultural moment you could hum on the radio. Here's the strategic beauty. As the GUI matures, Microsoft bundles its own apps, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, into a suite that becomes Office infrastructure. The more machines run Windows, the more people use Office. The more teams use Office, the more companies standardize on Windows. That feedback loop is the 1990s in one sentence. Dominance attracts attention. Regulators take aim at how Windows and the browser are tied together. Competitors cry foul. The courtroom years are painful, public, and frankly formative. My take? The legal heat forced Microsoft to internalize something it would later need in the cloud era. Interoperability as a strategy, not just a talking point. Out of that crucible, the company doubles down on platforms that invite developers in rather than walling them out. Frenemies, truces, and the long game. Here's a twist that still surprises casual fans. In the late 90s, while Apple was clawing its way back, Microsoft put real money and software commitments behind the Mac. On paper, that looks contradictory. In practice, it's pragmatic. Microsoft's real moat is not any one device. It's the ubiquity of its tools. If you use Excel and Word at work, it benefits Microsoft when you can keep using them on whatever hardware you love at home. The rivalry never ends. The dependency never dies. That's big tech's favorite love story. Meanwhile, a skunkworks team in Redmond pitches a game console built around the company's graphics tech. The working nickname, DirectX Xbox, sticks a little too well and becomes XBOX. The first box is a bruiser, but it ships with a system seller that rewires living rooms. The business lesson isn't just about shooters and joysticks, it's that Microsoft learns to build hardware at scale, to run online services for consumers, and to nurture first-party content. Those muscles will matter when the company pivots to the cloud. The cloud bet before it was cool. In the late 2000s, Microsoft points a massive bet at something most boardrooms still called a buzzword: utility computing. Windows Azure launches and grows into Microsoft Azure, a global fabric of data centers, databases, and machine learning tools. At first, the pitch is simple: rent servers by the hour. Then it becomes profound: assemble building blocks for everything from retail personalization to protein folding. My view: Azure is where the company finally escapes the gravity of the PC. You don't buy it at Best Buy, you wire your entire business to it. 2014, a culture reboot wearing cloud boots. Enter Satya Nadella. The slogan is mobile first, cloud first, but the deeper move is cultural. Microsoft stops treating rival platforms as heresy and starts showing up where customers already live. Office lands on iPhone and Android as a first-class citizen. Office 365 evolves into Microsoft 365, turning a box product into a subscription you never uninstall. Then come the capability compilers. LinkedIn to understand the world of work. GitHub to embrace the developers building the future. The old Microsoft guarded the castle. The new Microsoft rents out the city, AI all the way down. If Azure is the fabric, AI becomes the pattern woven into it. Microsoft partners with a cutting-edge AI lab, pours compute into training frontier models, and does something very on-brand. It packages that power as product. Copilot shows up across the stack, coding, documents, spreadsheets, meetings, like a second set of eyes that never sleeps. You can quibble about branding, UX, or pricing. The trajectory is clear. The same company that once sold you a word processor now sells you a writing partner, a data sidekick, and a coding collaborator. None of this is a straight line. The phone bet flops. A big handset acquisition gets written down. Some early cloud moves feel tentative, but that's what makes the arc interesting. Microsoft learns in public and corrects in force. When it misses a wave, it finds the next one and surfs longer. When it ships a product that's a version too early, it iterates until the market catches up to the idea. Two little-known nuggets you can drop in a comment thread. First, that Microsoft hyphen wasn't a typo. It shows up in a 1975 letter and tells you the founders were naming a category, not just a company. Second, inside Redmond, the Xbox nickname really did come from the DirectX graphics stack, proof that sometimes the placeholder is the keeper. Tiny details, giant ripples. So, the two quiet bets. The 1980s clause was the decision to keep the rights to license MS-DOS beyond IBM. It sounds like legalese, but it turned Microsoft into the standard bearer for an entire industry of PC makers. The 2014 culture shift was permission to put Microsoft's best work wherever customers already are, with the cloud as the delivery vehicle and AI as the amplifier. One rewired distribution, the other rewired behavior. Put them together and you get a company that can miss a product cycle and still set the next one. Today's Microsoft isn't just a Windows vendor. It's an ecosystem operator. Cloud regions, developer tools, enterprise security, games, devices, and now assistants that live in your apps. If you run a startup, you can build your entire stack on their primitives. If you run a Fortune 500, you can make your meetings searchable and your spreadsheets suggestive. The business flywheel is the same as the one that made Office a default. Get everywhere, make switching costly without making it feel like a trap, and keep compounding value through services. If this breakdown gave you a cleaner mental model for how Microsoft got from Albuquerque to AI, tap like. So the algorithm knows to bring you the next deep dive. Drop a comment. Which bet mattered more? The licensing clause that made DOS ubiquitous, or the cloud and culture reboot that made Azure and AI unavoidable? I feature sharp takes in the next episode. And if you want the extended cut, bonus anecdotes, product timelines, and extra rivalry stories, consider joining the channel. Super thanks helps me spin up the research machines and puts your comment at the top of the thread. Subscribe so the next story lands right on your home feed the second it drops.